with everything inspected where we want it to be, we had to take it apart one more time because now we're at the final stage.
It is a dial with an SUV going downhill. That is your downhill assist.
Good morning and welcome to another episode of Defying Jeep. Today is actually episode 1 of Project V-NOTCH. V-NOTCH is going to go through another transformation. Nothing huge, something common that we do in a lot of our Jeeps, but we're going to go ahead and take care of it for V-NOTCH since it's lacking all of these upgrades. Now, if you noticed that the spare tire and of course all the other 5 tires or other additional 4 tires, 5 tires total, we went ahead and swapped out the wheels. If you caught our previous video on the unboxing, you saw these wheels that we had selected for V-NOTCH because it does go off-roading quite a bit. And as I had mentioned before, it's a whole lot less expensive to replace a $100 wheel versus a custom $300 or $400 wheel or whatever the dealer charges for factory wheels. So we elected to go that way, but these wheels are on. But now the spare tire is coming off because today, for episode 1 of this project, we are going to go ahead and do bumpers. V-NOTCH is backed in already, so we're going to go ahead and take off the spare, whatever assembly is behind the spare, and of course remove the bumper, and then of course in reverse pattern, we're going to go ahead and reinstall the new bumper. The one thing that may not get done in this episode series for the project is the lights, because I do not have any kind of like a switch pod, whether it be a VO switch or an S pod or an aux beam. I don't have anything like that for V-NOTCH yet. So the lights is probably something we're not going to do because I don't want to jerry rig a couple toggles or rockers and then have to do it again later. I'd just rather do it all at one time. So that's why I elected not to do the lights this time. But let's go ahead and get started. Let's get that spare tire off. We're going to start to disassemble the whatever fixtures behind the spare tire on the tailgate, and then we're going to get on the bumper. Alrighty, so as you notice with the spare tire in view, you can also notice these nice long spike lug nuts that V-NOTCH has elected to go with. So in order to get those off, we're going to use this extra long or super deep hex socket to get beyond the spike to get to the hex nut itself. And since there is no size amble drive for the wrench, I have to put a socket on this. So let's go ahead and take out the spare. Alright, that's loose enough where we can take them off by hand. And also, if you'll notice that the camera lock for the spare tire, that's already gone. That's something I had removed at the tire shop. I just didn't put it back on because I knew we were going to move forward with this project. Let's go ahead and take that spare off. Alright, as you ever notice, these spikes right here, there are little scratches on them. And that is due to them being wrenched or the socket and whatnot. See how the line scratches are? Now, these are anodized. Now, you have to be careful with these because they do scratch up easily. But we definitely got plenty of spares for these, so we don't have to worry about the loss of any, or if anything breaking or snapping. We've got this area taken care of. Alrighty, there she is, one spare tire removed. Alright, so now we're gonna get to this guy right here. Now we gotta keep in mind we do have a camera here, so we need to be careful. First, let's examine what's going on here. You got this wiring here. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bolts holding it in place. I got my hand behind here. There's nothing back here that I can see the steel. Alrighty, so it looks like what we have to be mindful for is this cable right here to the camera. And there's a couple of Torx bits right back there. That's probably what's keeping it in place. So, ooh, this is going to be fun. Okay, right on. We're going to give that a shot. Okay, so yes, a 13mm does fit these bolts, keeping this assembly to the tailgate. So we're just going to have to try and be careful with this because I am using my impact gun to make this job a little fast. Now keep in mind, you do have a little length on them. They're probably about 2 inches, maybe 2.5 inches long. They do have a metal washer and a plastic washer. And I think that's just to protect the paint. Alrighty, so at this point right here, from the back, the wiring was caught right here, and that's just a normal mounting fixture where it's supposed to go. I went ahead and released that. I need to find me the correct Torx T-size to these screws so I can open this up and release the cable and release the camera, and I should be able to take it from there. But this area is like super filthy. You guys have seen me work before, and I don't like to work like this. Oh my god. So I am going to go fetch me a bucket of water and an old rag, and I'm going to clean this up. So let me go ahead and get what I need, and then we'll keep on going. Alrighty, enough of that clean for now. I just wanted to clean my immediate area. These vents right here, they're really soft. I don't know. Oh, they're rubber. Let me wipe those down. Alrighty, with the vents already cleaned out. Now these rubber, I guess, flaps are like super thin. You want to be careful with these. They're not as clean as I like to get them, but you know, this is an area that you're never really going to see. And what I cleaned off was just years of dust buildup from off-roading, but it's cleaner than what it was. It's not the best, but you know, it's definitely cleaner than what it was. So, and I have not forgotten about this cable right here. These torque bits are T25s. I do have a hand driver for that, but before I do so, let's at least go ahead and mount the plate that's here. Let me grab that plate. All right, there's a specific design to this plate right here. You have I guess a bump stop of sorts for, I have no idea what, for whatever reason, because it's going to be right about in this area. So gotta do something with the other mount. And this right here is for the turnbuckle for the swing arm. Let's go ahead and get this mounted. What did I do with the bolts? And I'll put them in. Oh, here we go. This is going to be a super easy install because we're going to use the original hardware. There we go. Let me go and grab the other bolts. I love these little hardware dishes and keep everything in one spot. Now, you want to be real careful in the orientation how you mount this bracket. As you're looking at it, on the left side is going to be the mount for the turnbuckle. On the lower right is going to be that bump stop thread for whatever it is that we're going to figure out a little bit later. But at least let me, oh, sugar, look at that. Did you catch that mistake, what I just did? These vents got to come off because they're not going to allow this to sit flat. Well, smacks. Okay, let's get back to that in a second. Let's at least go ahead and take care of that wire. Where's my T25? T25. Alrighty, so here it is. Technically the camera's out. This is the camera assembly right here. Just need to clean it up, and it's going to retain some of these bolts and brackets here which looks like when I pounded it with my little rubber mallet, kind of separated them, but there's no big deal. I can go ahead and, you know, slam them back together. And as far as the third brake light, this bracket's going to be removed. We're no longer going to use a third brake light. But of course, in all of the other Jeep style little plugs, you got to squeeze something to pull it out. It's a little bit of a bear to get to. So we're gonna figure this part out without damaging anything. Y'all know me, man. I hate breaking stuff when I'm taking it apart. But all right, let me go ahead and get this part situated, and I get this done. Alrighty, with the wire out of the way, removed from here, like I said, in all tradition of everything Jeep Chrysler, all the way up here is a real tiny little something I had to press. So I got a tiny little screwdriver and I pressed it down as I pulled, came right out. So this is done, and the other half of the third brake light's there on the ground, and the spare tire, factory spare tire mount we're no longer going to use. So separately, these three pieces, we're just going to throw them away, as I have had experience where I save parts, try and sell parts, nobody wants them. I'm stuck with these parts. I don't think I'm going to do it anymore. I am just going to get rid of these parts, and we'll give this one final wipe before I start to continue forward. And remember, I still got to remove these things here. I just like to be neat and thorough at times, you know. All right, so that's that. Now we need to figure out how to remove these guys. All right, I may have an idea. I'm gonna go get me a plastic trim tool to see if I can wedge it out. There we go. There it is. Okay, so you release them from the bottom and then pull upward. Okay, so back here it does have a little bit of foam. That's gonna have to work as a filter. But now we can go ahead and mount on this other plate. Let me just do a little bit more cleaning here. Okay, what I'm feeling for as I'm tightening them, make sure that these are secure, but the washers are not dancing around loose, and they all feel perfect to me. So I just need to take off this bump stop, figure out what size Allen head that is, put them screws in, put that back together. Let me go ahead and knock that out. All right, this is a 4mm Allen head. All right, just my luck. There's a nut back there holding it together. Let me go figure out what that is. That could be a 10mm nut. Let's find out. All right, so to reconfirm with you, yes, the screw, the head itself, the hex, is a 6mm Allen, and the nut holding it was a 10mm nylock, and I'm calling it 10mm because that's the size wrench I used to take it off.
Alrighty, with the I don't even know what you call that center plate. Now that that's out of the way, we're actually ready to uninstall the bumper. Now there's going to be a lot of fasteners involved, and I'm talking about each side. So starting from the corner, you have mud flaps on each side, and I didn't think this to be somewhat of a mud flap, because the traditional mud flap to me is just a big old flap of rubber, you know, that catches like anything that kicks off the tire. But they are little plastic appliances in there. They call it the mud flaps, and that's fine. Those are going to come out, and each one of them is held by 3 6mm bolts. And then all the way across, you have brackets on each side. So there's 4 bolts on each side, large ones that's got to come out. We're going to remove the factory tow hook. That's going to come out. That's held on by 4 bolts. The factory trailer hitch, that's going to be removed. That's also held on by 4 large bolts. And we're losing the trailer hitch because the aftermarket bumper comes with a built-in hitch. So it's more of a we're gonna remove that one to replace it instead of just totally lose it. And of course the factory tow hook, we're gonna lose that altogether because the aftermarket bumper comes with shackle mounts for D-rings. Let me see what else. There might be something else. I may be missing something. I haven't done too many JLs in the past, but it should be very, very similar to the JKs that I'm so used to working on. But let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna do the best I can to show you where the fasteners are. You know, the little ones are kind of weird. It took me a minute to find them. And like I said, there's 3 on each side. Once those come out, we can start removing all the large ones. And I'm gonna start from one side, and then I'll take it across to the other, and then we should be able to release that bumper and get rid of it. Alrighty, go ahead and standing out right behind V-Notch, I'm gonna show you the mud flap, and it does look kind of weird. Not, like I said, not the traditional sense of a mud flap, but let's take a look at it. So, right here, quarter rear fender, rear bumper. This item right here, this is what they're calling a mud flap. And this is held on by 3 screws. I'm gonna go see if I can get you a really good shot of where those screws are. There should be 2 right here where my hand is somewhere. One above the other one, and then one on the inside, I think. But let me go ahead and get a pair of gloves, and we'll climb there and see if I can show you what those screws are. Alrighty, so I actually crawled under V-Notch, and you can see right here. See if I can get my big old glove out of the way. You got 1 bolt right here, 1 right above it, and then all the way across. Where is it? There is a 3rd. Let me see if I can move that. One right here. Let's see if I can get a better angle on that. Yeah, this one right here. So this one here and these 2 over here, they're gonna get removed, and that is gonna be the first access to getting rid of these mud flaps. Let's see if I can take them out with my little ratchet here. Alrighty, here it is. For all intents and purposes, this is what they're calling a mud flap. Now that we got this removed, let me show you the exposed bolts and what we need to remove to get this bumper released. Alright, so from here with that mud flap removed, you can see that these 2 are exposed. On this bracket, let me see if I can get right here at the front, there's 2 more. There is another bracket. Shucks, just behind it. I can't really expose it. Yeah, no, that's the first one. Yeah, I don't know if you can see those 2 bolts right there going up and down. Those gotta get removed too, and that's on the second bracket. So that's another 2, 4, it's either 6 or 8 bolts on this side. Let's take a look real quick. We're gonna do exactly the same thing on the driver's side with a mud flap, all the bolts, the brackets, whatnot. But this one has the hook, which this one has 4 bolts. It's got 2 going up and then 2 going to the side. All those are gonna get removed. And of course, as I mentioned, the trailer hitch, that's got 4 bolts also. Those are gonna get removed, and we're gonna get rid of that trailer hitch. Alrighty, down here with my face at the tailpipe, we're gonna go ahead and start to remove these bolts from these brackets right here. See if we can release the bumper on this side, at least this corner anyways. And then we're gonna move to the other side, do exactly the same thing. Additionally, remove the tow hook, and then we will get rid of the trailer hitch, because it is the most center but also the heaviest part. So let's get going. Let's see how far we can go. All right, it looks like this side is actually pretty released. You can see all the play I got in here. I'm not gonna keep on fiddling with this bracket. I'm just gonna move over and release the other side and get rid of this bumper. And then from there, we'll salvage all the hardware. All right, and we are now completely disassembled. If you take a look at the actual
rear of the chassis. The bumper itself has been removed, and the bumper is nothing but plastic, hollow plastic. It was like super light. You know, I don't know how they can consider that a bumper. I don't believe it offers any kind of protection. And of course, on top of one of my transmissions, you can see all the brackets that are removed. All right, let's take a closer look. Alrighty, so for starting from the rear of V-NOTCH and the bare naked chassis, here is the trailer hitch and removed. That's going off away, and that was right here with 4 bolts. Just get that undone, those dropped out. Right here where the tow hook was, you got 2 bolts going up, 2 bolts going to the side. Let me show you that tow hook. It's over here, so here it is. All right, so here's the tow hook on that. And these are the other brackets that I was wrestling with earlier. And here is the rear bumper. Now, for future reference on JLs and JTs, be careful with the rear bumper because you have a wire coming out of there. If your vehicle is equipped with, let's say, proximity sensors or backup sensors, you got to keep that wire intact because you're going to need to transfer that to your new bumper. In V-NOTCH's case, V-NOTCH does not have any backup sensors, so we're not going to move forward with that. Alrighty, and there it is. We are ready for the install of the new bumper. I'm first going to clean up a little bit, take care of some other, you know, adult man husband responsibilities, and then we'll start on the install. Alrighty, and here we are. It's definitely been a long day, a long hot day. You can tell that the light's starting to dim a little bit. It's been like super hot here in Vegas, you know, no lie. Everybody, it's been getting 117 degrees, 120 degrees. So of course I have to go inside, try and cool off a little bit or take a few hours off, wait for the sun to come down. And that's where we're at right now. But with everything out of the way and totally cleaned up, everything's been disassembled, except for that part in the tailgate where I put that plate on there. So that's ready to accept the tire carrier. We went ahead and removed the bumper. We got rid of the mud flaps. Like a pack rat that I am, I kept all the original hardware because, you know, nuts and bolts are getting like super expensive at the hardware store, especially if you want a quality bolt like a grade 8 or something similar. You know, you want to keep all these different little items here, but now we are ready to install the bumper. So, and we got our initial hardware ready, so at least we can present it and start threading some bolts in there. But there is an additional piece we're going to use, and let me go ahead and grab it. We are going to go ahead and use this plate. This plate has got 2 welded nuts on there, and we're going to mount this right there on the passenger side inside the chassis. The reason being is because we're going to have 2 bolts that are going to go upward, and they need a thread onto this, and it's only on the passenger side. We're not going to do this to the driver's side because we're going to use the locations where the bolts went for the factory tow hook, so that's going to accommodate just fine. So this is only needed on one spot, the passenger side. But okay, you guys are probably going to laugh at me. I'm going to look a little funny trying to struggle and lift this by myself, but let's get to it. Let's go ahead and start installing that bumper. Alrighty, so here we are. This is the chassis area on the passenger side rear. Here is that little tune-up plate that I said we're going to use, and we're going to place it inside the chassis. This is going to be self-explanatory because the 2 holes are very evident, so you can see exactly where it's going to rest. Now, this is the fun part. The way that these L brackets are on this chassis or the bumper itself, this is going to go from the underside of it on both sides. So we need to start bolts on the sides. I think that's probably going to be my best option. I'm going to try and thread them on the side first, at least get them started by hand, so that I can get this bolted up. And as I said, I'm doing this by myself, so let's see how far I can get without making a complete fool of myself. This is going to be fun. Let me go ahead and get some hardware. All right, I got 4 for that side. I got 4 for this side. And you know what? I want to be a genius about this and make sure that everything's going to thread up nicely, that all the threading is correct. That looks good. Go ahead and take this out of here. Make sure it threads well in there. Yep, it's going all the way through and it's not binding. We're good. So the threading is correct. Now, we're going to go ahead and thread these in by hand just to start. And then we'll probably drive them in with my ratchet as soon as I find the right socket. That's probably a 19 millimeter. Could be a 21. But we'll get there when we get there. And then with the torque wrench, we're going to hit them to about 65 foot-pounds. So, whew. You ready? Let's see how well this works out for me. Super sweet. Let me go ahead and get a bolt on the other side so at least it's stable, and they can go ahead and start putting on all the rest of the fasteners. All right, so all 4 of the bolts on the sides, the 2 on this side, 2 on that side, they're lining up beautifully, and the body line is so really tight to the bumper itself. So it's got nice spacing all the way across. I checked it on the other side already, so I was super impressed. So we're gonna keep on going with that. So let me go ahead and get the other 4 started, the 2 on each side that go upward, and then from there we'll be ready to tighten them down. Alrighty, so the 8 supporting bolts on both ends were already installed. They're ready to go. I just started them by hand. I still need to find the correct socket size. Like I said, possibly a 19mm or a 21mm. Doesn't matter, I got them. But I am first going to get the 4 long bolts that go to the center that support the factory trailer hitch. Now, I got new bolts for them. I believe they're grade 8s. So I'm going to go ahead and get those started first. I want to make sure that everything's able to, pass through all the holes, get all the threading started, and then I'll start to tighten down. So let me go get those fasteners. Alrighty, I think I'm all set with the fasteners. I went ahead and I pre-set up the long bolts with a spring washer or a lock washer, whatever you want to call it, a flat washer, and I did that 4 times for the 4 bolts. I've got 4 more big washers and the 4 nuts. So let's go ahead and get these threaded through. So I'm not able to see them from back here. Oh, that's wonderful. I just made a statement of that's wonderful. I'm going to explain that in a moment. Let's go ahead and get these fasteners in. Now, using the 4 bolt holes, they're in the chassis area where I had removed the factory trailer hitch. I'm feeling for the holes, and they all line up perfect. So I'm going to climb under here. I'm going to slide these fasteners through. And start them off with a washer and nut, and then we'll get started on the tightening. Alrighty, at this point I'd say we're good to go. Let me see, we got 4, and 4 is 8, and 4 is 12. We got 12 fasteners already started and semi-secured. Let's go ahead and find the correct socket size so we can tighten them all down. Alrighty, so now we got our sockets kind of in order. So the ones on the sides, you're going to use an 18mm hex head, and the ones on the bottom, they're also going to use the same 18mm hex head. Now, they're going to be the same on the other side. The ones in the center, because they are larger bolts, they have a larger head. They actually went to a 19mm head. Neither here nor there. Shouldn't make a big deal difference. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and tighten up the passenger side, and then the driver side, and then we'll come down and snug the 4 bolts in the center, and then we'll hit them all with a torque wrench. And that already feels like it's not going anywhere. Let's finish the job. Let's get it done right. Alrighty, all 12 fasteners are set. They're snugged up pretty good. Now it's the time to go get my torque wrench, tighten them all down to 65 foot-pounds. Alrighty, and that's where we're at for this part right here. This bottom, the actual bumper itself, is secure. All 12 bolts are on, all fastened down to 65 foot-pounds. We're good to go, ready for the next stage, which should be the final stage, so we can get this project finished and then move on to the front bumper as soon as we're done. Alrighty, now that the bumper's all done and that part's good to go, we're ready for the tire carrier. But this is not just a tire carrier. This also supports the backup camera, which I have dangling right there on the bumper. I went ahead and prepared some of my area. And I started doing some thinking in advance, so I went ahead and prepared the tire carrier as well, some extra assembly. What I did is I took it from, let me grab this. I took it from what it was and I added the spare tire mount, not necessarily the adapter, but just the backing part, because I added that bump stop. This is part of the kit. It came there. I just wanted to pre-assemble it before we get it done. So now we're ready to go ahead and mount it. And if you notice this beautiful looking hole right here, it got some bearings going in there. It's not just going to slide on that post that is on the passenger rear quarter. We're actually going to put some hub bearings on there. So let's get a little prepared over here, because the instructions just say put the bearings on there. But I'm a little bit more old school. They're bearings. That means they're moving parts, metal against metal, riding against each other. So we're gonna put some good grease on there. And I'm talking about, some old-fashioned red hub grease. That's what we're gonna put. So let me get this all set up over here, and then let's start assembling and finish this part of the project. Alrighty, right here at the rear bumper. First thing I'm gonna do is put some gloves on, because I'm going to be in contact with, let's say, unsurfaced metal parts like those bearings and those races. So I don't want to put any natural oils on them, have them prematurely rust. So I'm going to protect them by covering my hands. And my hands got really swollen, those gloves don't fit no more. Business, but because I'm really sweaty, can't get these gloves on right. That's probably it. My hands are super sweaty. Okay, so first thing is I'm going to cheat because I'm alone doing this without any help. I needed to figure out how am I going to support this. So what did I do? And it didn't bring. I'm such a little bit of both. Okay. So right here is where the turnbuckle is going to go. What I'm going to do is I am going to take two of these rubber washers. Now be careful with these. They are specifically shaped. In the center of that washer, it's got a little ball shape for the heim joint that is being used for this turnbuckle. So I'm going to put one on each side. I'm going to put it right in between the brackets. And just squeeze that in there. I got a bolt-in washer. I'm just going to slide it through, and this is just to help me when I am mounting the swing gate. I'm trying to be smart about it to see if I can make it work for me. That's really what I'm trying to do. So cool. Let me grab you the bolt. I'll just keep this on ready. Alright, so now we're going to take our larger washer. I'm sorry, I don't know why it says washer. I'm doing a little washer on this whole project. Because I can't hear the project. Okay. This is a race. This is the hub bearing. The hub bearing is going to rest in here and spin just like it would in a rear axle or front differential or any differential or even a hub spindle. We're gonna grease this very well. Put a little line of grease in here, grease this very well, and then pack it with grease when we get to that moment. And we're gonna, and there's two of them. There's a top and there's a bottom. Let's go ahead and get that part done. Yes. I'm gonna adjust this. There we go. Let me figure this part out and we'll see why it's not fitting. Alrighty, so I went ahead and I figured out what was wrong and why the spare tire carrier was not fitting onto the race. It looks like there was a flat spot in the housing of the spare tire carrier. This item may have been dropped somewhere, either during packaging or shipping or whatever had happened. I went ahead and I rounded it out again, and I pressed the race in, and it works out fine. And as I had mentioned, I'm using the turnbuckle to support the top part of that right there, so I can go ahead and continue to assemble this. So let's go ahead and get that finished as fast as we can so we can get this part of the project out of the way. So where am I here? Alrighty, let me figure out what the holdup is. I'll get to you in a second. Alrighty, so I went ahead and I figured out what the problem was. The fixture itself wasn't sitting right, so I went to the local Home Depot and I got me a longer bolt, pretty much twice the length of the one that was provided for that pivot fixture. In fact, let me show you what I'm talking about here. Let me go and adjust this for you. Let me see if I can. There we go. Okay, so this is what we're looking at right here. This guy. It came with a really nice bolt, one with the, let's say an Allen head. You know what I mean? Where you use an Allen wrench to put in there. And it was, in fact, it's probably still in my pocket. Yeah, it came with this one right here. Beautiful bolt, you know. But wanting to get this finished, I just went to Home Depot and I found out another bolt, the same 10mm by 1.5, just twice the length, and it fit in there perfect. Everything's all secure. It doesn't jiggle. It's not in any way like not fixed right. So all I got to do is reset the turnbuckle. And let me show you that right there. Okay. So if I can keep this thing from jiggling, it'd be awesome. Alrighty, so all I got to do is just reset this turnbuckle right here. I went ahead and I took it off, or removed it, made it free just so I can make everything level. And tighten it down appropriately. And now it's got very free spin on there. It feels fantastic and it's still tight like it would if you would replace spindle bearings, just saying old school disc brakes, you know, which I'm used to doing. So let's go ahead and open this up. I need to give this some length. Oh, and by the way, right here, there was a bump stop, a factory bump stop, just like this one over here. I went ahead and I removed it. Yeah, that's what this bump stop is for. It's actually making contact right here. This one was actually in the way, so I removed it. And I'll find something to plug this up later. Probably not gonna make a big deal difference because you got this whole cavity open right here. Gotta find a way to accommodate for that as well. So, right now, let me see if this length is right. Okay, so what we're gonna do, the length is good for right now. So let's go ahead and sandwich the ball on the heim joint again with these bushings that are provided. And we're gonna put this back in here. Groovy. My big bolt and washer. Slide that down there. And keep in mind that there's no washers and nuts on here. In fact, I should do that right now. Only because we are at the point where we don't need to leave them loose anymore. I think we're about done with this. So once this is done, we'll go ahead and slide on the camera and call it a day. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a washer and a nut, and I'll just keep them there. I'm not going to tighten them down just yet. I want to make sure everything is kosher. All right, that's good there. And that's good enough for right now. So now, what we're gonna do is we want this to be as close as we can to the bump stop. Now, there's no real adjustment instructions in the paperwork that came with this appliance right here. So what I'm gonna do is with the turnbuckle, we're gonna spin it. Like, let me get you a better shot. I want to talk to you for a second. I think that'll do me. All right, so the turnbuckle, what we want to do is we want to spin it. And this is the part we're going to make adjustments, because everything is pretty much set. It feels very stable. What I want to do is I'm going to open and close it. Now this thing is supposed to swing and pivot with this turnbuckle, so it's gonna kind of do something like that. You know what I mean? But you want to adjust it where it doesn't bind. Let's unlock it. All right, nothing in the way. Let's grab this camera before I drop it. Yeah, I don't want to hear the end of that one. That might do it, to be honest, because it opened, it closed. There's no binding. It feels normal. Now there's a little jiggle there because the bolt is actually smaller than the actual hole provided, but that's okay for right now until I tighten the nuts on the bolts. But everything seems to be working well, so I think we're good on that. That should be well in place. Alrighty. So the next step is running this camera. Now remember, I have the camera dangling and the other cable I took away from the third brake light. Now that cable for the third brake light, we're gonna keep it. We're gonna tuck it away somewhere. I might get one of those spare tire brake light rings, and still you'd be able to use that cable since they come with a connector that's able to plug and play without an issue. So I think we're at the point where we're ready to finish this gig. Let me see if I can run that, and then we'll get the camera mounted. All right, let me get a separator of some sort and try and, because now that I'm looking at it, I believe I'm supposed to separate this bracket from the camera mount and slide this over here, which I think in my mind is making a little bit more sense now. Okay, cool, right on. Let me go ahead and find something to separate this, and then we'll get her done. Alrighty, I managed to separate the whatever little camera housing from the other plate that has the studs on it. There's in fact I threw it on the floor. This fella right here. And the separation of the two wasn't too bad. I just got like a pry bar to use as a wedge tool, and I kind of went around it and snapped off. Now the problem was, from the housing that the camera is mounted to, that wire for the camera goes to this center hole. And I'm like, how am I going to remove this? One, without cutting a wire and splicing it, because you know that's a video cable or an optical cable. I don't know what you want to call it. Or I don't want to cut the wire. I didn't want to cut this bracket because, you know, there's actually something pretty neat. Maybe a talk about item, but I'll probably never use it again. But I just didn't want to destroy it, and I hate breaking stuff. I'm thinking, what's the next best option? Because that housing is plastic. That camera had to be mounted on there somewhere, and it is. Let me show you real quick. All right, so let me show you real quick. Here's the housing. All right, here is the plate that was on, and if you remember, these were in there like that. I'm not going to push a low weight in because I don't want them to get all jammed up and everything, but I was able to separate them. Now, this was in here like that, and the cable. And I'm wondering, how am I going to get rid of this cable? You see there's a plug all the way in there. I don't know if you can see that. Now, in the front of the camera, there's 3 tiny little screws. They are Torx, but I don't know how super tiny they are because the smallest one I have is a T10, and that was super huge on there. So I started to think a little bit. What could I possibly do without cutting the cable, without destroying that bracket, and how can I get these screws out? So I have a very small set of screwdrivers, flat, that I was able to work in there. Like, you see these kinds of little screwdrivers almost anywhere. and they're like tiny. And I use the one that's like the 2.4 millimeter, which is maybe a shy big, but I was able enough to wedge it in there and drive out these 3 screws. Camera came up from the front. I was able to unplug the pigtail that's in the back, slide everything out, get that guy out of there, put it back together. Now this is where we are. Now we got this cover. They're gonna slide the camera in. Now you got these 3 plastic dowels. They have to go through there. See if I can get those in there. Remember, the plastic dowels do have to go in, and it's supposed to fit snug, and they do. And there you are. Make sure that the cable's out of the way, looking good. All right, at this point right here, we're ready to slide on the spare tire. So why don't we do that? This job is about finished, I believe. Let me go ahead and grab that spare. All right, it's time to put that spare tire on here and pretty much be about done with this job. Now don't laugh at me. There's nothing funnier than watching an old man trying to lift a heavy tire. All right, let's put it on. What are the chances I can get this to stay on? Because I'm a dumbass. I forgot the lug nuts. Alrighty. Went in, I picked up the lugs. Just gonna put them on here. Make me feel a little better versus just trying to let the spare tire dangle on its own. Now, I'm gonna explain a couple issues with this setup right here. Not huge issues, nothing that can't be fixed, but something that wasn't thought of ahead of time. And I'm talking about, well, the manufacturer, but not 100%. None of it's the consumer's fault. But let's take a look real quick and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Alrighty, this setup is pretty much done. There is a couple things. Now, let's take a look at the spare tire for a second. The mount is perfect. Everything seems to work well. It's holding up this tire. This tire is a 285/70/17. It's about the size of a 33, you know, with its, of course, appropriate weight. Now, the issue with this particular setup is the spare tire mount itself, the studs. Now, JLs and JTs, they come with a 14 millimeter wheel stud. This spare tire mount came with a 12 millimeter by 125 stud. I'm like, who uses that? The only one that I know of is Nissan. All right, this here is a Jeep, American made. Anyway, so I went ahead and I'm using the lug nuts that came with the kit just to keep the spare tire for now. I went ahead and I ordered another set of purple spiked lug nuts, just so I can have something as close to matching as possible as the ones on the wheels that are on the ground. They probably won't match exactly. Unfortunately, that's something we're gonna have to deal with, but at least you can identify the spares from the load-bearing ones on the pavement. And then we got plenty of spare lugs, you know? And I wish I was able to swap out these for 12 millimeter without having to, swap out those for 14 millimeter without having to buy another set of lug nuts. But unfortunately, those bolts are welded on. So when the time comes and those snap off, we'll deal with it at that time. You know, but right now they're welded, they're not going anywhere. If they were pressed on, I'd be able to beat them out and put in the appropriate size lug bolt and call it a day. Now, here's another issue I have with this setup right here. And it's not necessarily the fault of the setup, because this was specifically sold as an off-road bumper. But when V-NOTCH ordered this bumper, you will see right here is supposed to be a mount for the license plate. This one didn't come with one because it was not sold with one. You know, and unfortunately, it's one of the little details that wasn't looked after when ordering the specific bumper setup. But that's all right. There are other labels out there that sell a license plate frame for it, and I went ahead and I ordered one. I think it's Rugged Rage. So I am going to go ahead and mount it in its appropriate location. I'm going to go ahead and mark where I need it to sit. Now, when setting up that license plate frame, you want to consider a couple things. You want to consider the door. Oops, get you a better angle there. You want to consider the door. I still messing that up. You want to consider the door, make sure that the tailgate doesn't get in the way. You want to make sure it doesn't block any light. So I figure from right here, and it's going to extend out a little bit, but it's not going to go beyond the tire. So that's going to be an appropriate setup right there. And a couple little things like more accessory. Just trying to keep in the whole purple theme for V-NOTCH. I went ahead and I ordered a purple license plate frame and some license plate bolts, but the matching purple spikes. She seems to like that, so we're gonna run with that theme. But that's really about it. I'll show you the end result over here when this is completely finished. But for now, the rear is done. We just need to get to the front, and we'll be doing that next week. So of course, thank you for watching. I do appreciate you spending the time with me, and thank you for your support. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and click that little bell. Of course, please join us on all our social platforms and visit us at www.defiantjeep.com, where you can find all your Jeep performance accessories, camping gear, and other merch. We love to see you on the trail. And there will be links for everything that I've used. There will be links in the description.